Am I here to talk about stuff today? Alright guys, I have been playing Destiny 2 now for a little while. I go off and on of this game quite often, but I have come back now a little bit in full swing, and it's been about, we're on week 3 now, and I'm starting to get the hang of the game again. So I wanted to come up with the Titan build. You've probably seen a variation or maybe this exact same thing before from other YouTubers, but I think I have my own little spin on it and maybe some more advice that I can give. So I'm going to swap over to gameplay right now and we'll see what I got. And you can probably tell a little bit about what I got going on right now. I have a little bit of the raid armor, still missing the arm, still missing the chest piece, that sort of stuff. If you know your exotics, you know that I'm wearing the Heart of Inmost Light right now, which is an amazing exotic for Titans at the moment, just because of the way that the seasonal artifact and the mods that it gives you is able to interact with your abilities. So if we hop into the inventory real quick, there are a few key things that I want to show you, and they basically make up the entire crux of the build. Let's first look at the subclass. The first thing that I want to show you here, that is going to be the key thing, and I'll go over all my choices and everything later on, but I want to go over the key crux things that you want to make sure you have in there. First thing, controlled demolition. Hitting a target with a void ability or volatile explosion makes them volatile. Further damage to a volatile target causes them to explode, grants you and nearby allies health when volatile targets explode near you. So this is kind of the main perk that you will look to when anybody is talking about like a well build, like an elemental well build, or if they're talking about like a volatile build or something like that, or even just Void Titan build with 3.0 coming out. This is mostly what people are talking about. The main thing that this aspect does for you is it allows you to sort of chain reaction everything. So when you make a target volatile and you proc those volatile rounds and they explode, they'll hit other nearby enemies, which is able to proc them to be volatile, and when they take more damage, possibly from another volatile explosion, they will in turn explode. And it's kind of like a chain reaction, and it's completely based on ad clear, which if you've played the raid, there are a few situations where you do want that. It's definitely really helpful, and I would say that this is my general PvE setup whenever, like, without changing stuff for nightfalls, or the legendary mission that's on for the week, or legendary lost sectors. If you don't have to change up your gear and you're just kind of just going through the motions, maybe you're farming strikes or something like that, or Wellspring is another option as well, where you just want to kind of get through the content but you want to use a fun build. This is what I use. So great, we have we introduced volatile here. We have that it kind of chain reactions all of the different enemies that will be affected with volatile rounds, and it explodes. We like explosions. Okay, so the next one here is defeating targets with your grenades grants volatile rounds to your void weapons. So this is another main part to this build. So we already have the effect up here with the aspects that allows you to do stuff once creatures are created volatile. Now what we need to do is now apply that volatility to as much as we can. Right, we want as many enemies to be volatile as much as possible, right? So the first one obviously being defeating targets with grenades grants volatile rounds to your void weapons. All right, and now the next thing I'm going to go to is actually going to go straight to the armor. So we're going to dismiss this over here. Now the most helpful perk here. Now I have this on my chest slot. I believe you can put it on a bunch of different types of armor, mix and match however you need to. I know, ignore the bad roll, it's what I have right now. But it will be in the 4th slot here. It's called Volatile Flow. You get it from your artifact. Most of you should be able to get it. You can unlock everything in your artifact this season. So definitely pick up this one if you want to go for this build. So Elemental Well mod. Picking up a Void Elemental Well grants your void weapons volatile rounds. This is just another way to make your weapons volatile and make more of those creatures volatile, right? Because we already have the chain reaction stuff, we already have them exploding. This is what we need to do and get as many things as possible. So picking up a Void Elemental Well grants your void weapons volatile rounds. Now there are 2 steps to this. Now obviously a lot of people, including myself, won't have people on 24/7, so what you need to be able to do is create these void elemental wells by yourself, right? You can't rely on other people to create them for you. While you can pick up people's elemental wells that they do spawn, that does work. The more reliable way is to add another mod that allows you to create them. So I believe that if we go over to, yep, it is my gauntlets here. Don't have the raid gauntlets yet, I'm waiting for those. On the 4th armor slot again, we have melee well maker. So powered melee combatant final blows, spawn elemental well types matching your subclass energy types. So basically, like I said, this whole build is based off of ad clear, right? You want to get rid of as many squishies as you can. You want to be able to focus down all of those majors and those bosses with your special types and your heavy types, whereas you want to use, you want to let your primary do the work. We're just really buffing it so it's able to do it a lot better. So we already have all the rounds coming from final blows from our grenades, and then we now have it from picking up the elemental wells. And volatile rounds, the buff itself lasts about 15-16 seconds each time. And that's each time that you like refresh that cooldown. So a couple things to note here: creating multiple elemental wells may not necessarily benefit you greatly. Main reason for that is because it doesn't stack that timer. Your timer is limited to that 15 or 16 seconds by itself. So whenever you spawn 2 of them, they usually spawn right on top of each other, so you're picking up 2 at once anyways. Whereas if you were able to, if they were a little bit more spaced out, maybe you could see it used. If we go back out here and we go over to my helmet, we have a mod called Font of Might, which again, it's a seasonal mod. Anybody can get it. So picking up an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type grants a temporary bonus to weapon damage of that same elemental type. It is useful. I'm not sure exactly on the percentage that it does increase, but it is very, very useful, especially for the gun that we're going to be using for it. And in this case, obviously, we will want to be using Void. So the big Void weapon that is going around right now that everybody is trying to farm for is Funnel Web. Now, you want to have a fast firing Void weapon that is able to hit multiple targets at once. The reason for that is you don't actually have to kill the target in order for the volatile rounds to proc. Okay, now Funnel Web's a great gun and it's going to be able to kill and shoot through all of those different like minor targets that we're trying to go after here. But what this allows you to do is kind of a spray and pray sort of playstyle, where you can spray all the different creatures, not necessarily wanting to make sure you get the kill on all of them, but your teammates can then damage it, and it still has those volatile explosions that happen, right? Those don't go away just because you stopped shooting or didn't kill it. So that's what we want to do. We want to put as many bullets across as many targets as possible as quickly as possible. So the Funnel Web is a really good gun, with it being a 900 submachine gun, very fast fire rate, very quick reload speed, and just really good perks all around that you can get. And the final thing specifically for Titans, and this is why this makes it so good, is the Heart of Inmost Light. So if we click into here, obviously if you have this, it's awesome. You can still make this build work without it, but it is much better once you do have it. So Overflowing Light, obviously using an ability, Grenade, Melee, or Barricade, empowers the other 2 abilities. Empowered meaning that the abilities have faster regen, melees and grenades do more damage, and barricades have more hit points. So what this looks like in practice is that you can almost kind of chain your abilities. So depending on the spawn rates that you're dealing with and the type of encounter you're dealing with, you can almost swap between melee and grenades, so you're very like there's very little downtime between you not having volatile rounds, right? And then as for the rest of my perks on my armor, there's just some Unstoppable, some Overload, just in case I run into that somewhere that I don't expect to. I basically have this entire build now, this being just my standard PvE build. I just want as much grenade launcher stuff as I can, because I typically like to run Parasite, because I'm not going to be running any raid bosses or anything in Wellspring. Okay, now going into my last little bit of perks here that I want to go over to. I have Rally Barricade. Now this is probably going to be, you know, personal preference on this one. Personally, I like the ability to place my barricade 8 seconds before. As you can see, the cooldown for Rally Barricade is 32 seconds versus Towering Barricade is 40 seconds. Rally Barricade also provides you with weapon reload speed, stability, and range when you stand behind it. It also provides it for your teammates. So in most encounters, when you're not necessarily worried about blocking damage with it, which is most, you can just pop that down. And the reason why I want that faster cooldown is because of my second aspect here, which happens to be Bastion. Now there is a few different considerations here. The first one that I'll show you is Bastion only gives you one fragment slot. Okay. Basically what it does is casting your super will grant overshield to nearby allies and yourself, and then barricade also grants that same overshield to you and your teammates, and then you can stand by your barricade and it will slowly regenerate that overshield. So it's kind of like you get an instant overshield as soon as you place down that barrier, and combined with the fact that here, when those volatile explosions happen, it heals you and your teammates. The ad clear and the sustainability is here in order to be able to stay alive and still be able to take down hordes of enemies. There are times where I have simply, when I don't have my class ability or any other abilities, but I have my grenade, I see a group of enemies and I'm really low health, throwing a grenade has saved my life before, simply because of this right here. Just this fact that it instantly heals you. It is so quick. Okay, so we have Bastion. We have the slower cooldown here. I prefer Strafe Lift. Strafe Lift allows me to move around the map. If I need to get up higher, obviously I can quickly swap to that. There's no cooldown on that, so that's why I typically use Strafe Lift, so I can have a little bit more movement and get out of the way if I need to a little bit faster. Then I have Shield Throw instead of Shield Bash. I don't see a lot of point in necessarily running Shield Bash unless you are wanting to do Crucible. The Shield Throw isn't necessarily great in Crucible. The Shield Bash is more of a movement ability at this point because they nerfed the crap out of Shoulder Charge, so it doesn't even one-shot things anymore. It's more of a movement ability for Crucible, but Shield Throw is very, very good in PvE. And then the last grenade, and this is just strictly for PvE again, is the Vortex Grenade. So it pulls the enemies towards them and it lasts quite a long time. There are two reasons for this. Number one is the other fragments that I have. So this first fragment, your Void Grenades weaken targets. That is a huge part of the meta right now, is being able to weaken targets with your grenades. I believe that the stat is that it's 15% extra damage as soon as you hit it, which is amazing. What we want, again, is to work with this ad clear that we already have and really expand upon it. So if we can affect multiple targets, get them all volatile, right, and then have those explosions chain reaction across everything, that's what we want. And then the last fragment here, Void ability final blows cause targets to explode. So again, it's just, it's all about ad clear. We're trying to damage as many things at once as possible, and go from there. Now, the one part, like, you can change any part of this that I was just talking about there. I can see a big advantage to wanting to have this second fragment slot, and having like the overshield and everything like that, and your grenade recharges significantly faster. That can be really, really good for this build. I haven't seen the need for it. What I have seen the need for, and has saved my life more times than I can count, is this Bastion perk. It saved my my friends' lives too, so I can't speak enough to how good this perk is, and that's why I don't go for the extra fragment slot. So let's jump into a Wellspring. I'll show you really quickly what it looks like. I'm sure you guys have seen this again, but I wanted to put my 2 cents in the ring. But let's go into a Wellspring and let's go over what it looks like. This is a good example of what the elemental wells look like. So we can pick this up, refresh our vault rounds, get it across all these different thralls, and boom, they're dead. That's just how it works. It's a beautiful sight when it really works well. And see, we still have a little bit of vault rounds left. Then what we can do is we can need this acolyte. We can get a little bit more, and we can go straight back to killing things, if we can find any. There we go. There's some more. And you can see they're all volatile and they all start exploding and they're all dead. Just how it works. Alright, that is it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed everything. I hope that maybe you learned something, maybe you picked up something from me before. Obviously, again, this is more of like a returning player's guide. All of the guys that I have talked to and that have played this game for a long time, they already kind of knew about this build. But this is coming from the perspective, like, you don't have to min-max in order to have a good build. You can find just a trash funnel web, or even like a Void Fusion Rifle does a really good job, and just mix and match a lot of the things. Keep to those crux perks that you want to be able to have to be able to do it, and you'll be fine. Have a good one, guys.